Hello. I know we're still in the ads, but I am gonna switch this over just so we can talk. Hello. Hello. Hi everyone. Um I know some of you are still caught in the ads, but I'm so excited. We're gonna have an art class. I feel like I'm gonna fumble through a lot of this, but you guys aren't here because I'm good at this. Hi Nina, welcome in. If you guys have not already, there is a pinned link, and you can grab the worksheet that is at the top of the channel. It's not necessary if you just want to watch and listen along to what we're doing, but I did prepare a little worksheet if you want to do some of the exercises that we'll be doing together, and it should be fun. But thank you for being here. I was really nervous, but I'm always nervous, so there's no difference. But before we get into it, tell me how you all are. What were you up to this week? Did something exciting happen? I know the Fields of Mystria update came out, and I'm sure Ren and Nina have maybe been on that. I know definitely Ren. But yeah, tell me about your week. What happened? Anything I should know? I've been playing Fields of Mystria. I knew it. I knew it. You guys are really tempting me to get it. Um, one of these days I am, because now that there's more content, I feel like it's the perfect time for me to get into it. I don't remember anything else about my week. Me neither. Me neither. Um, I made cake and my mom came by today. We ate some. It was great. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. What kind of cake? I wish I had some cake. I've been sleeping. Sleeping is good. Sleeping is good. Anytime is a good time. You're right. You're right. My bad. Apple cake. Wait, I think I did see those. I saw those in Jingle's Discord. It was so beautiful. Like, such a beautiful cake. I was actually, really astonished. And I wanted it. I've been working a lot lately. I actually just woke up. I have noticed that you've been, locked the hell in. And I really need you to, rub some of that off on me because I have been not. Um, but I'm going to get back into my rhythm soon. Um, I made stills for myself, PNGs. I'm sucking the soul out of all my artist friends. No! Save us. Offer of holding hands for Start of Field Mystia is still standing. Thank you. I do really want to get into it, but ah, I had to drop like $200 on my cat today. The same stinker that causes me a fortune in December. So I'm gonna have to wait on the Fields of Mystria. Yeah, he's a greedy little bastard. He's fine. He's literally fine. His eye when I came home from class was swollen shut, and I was freaking out and I took him to the vet. And thankfully there was nothing actually damaged about his eye. It was just he had irritated it somehow and it was all swollen, and we don't want an infection, so I got some ointment to put on his eye for the next couple of days. But good lord, this cat wants to rob me of all my money. Greedy little bastard. I can buy you Fields of Mystery? No! No, don't do that. That's really kind, but no, 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 no. You don't have to do anything like that. This cat wants to explode. Yeah, Hu is out from my neck, and by my neck, I mean my savings. I was literally looking up. Stop! Stop it! Don't do that. You guys are scheming and evil. That's too nice. Um, Pay me in, I don't know, hanging out with me and listening to me try to teach you shading. It's gonna be a nightmare, I'm sure. So if you just be here, that's all I could ask for. It's only 14 if we all sent in $1. Not the crowd pooling right now. Y'all are funny. Besides, none of you know my Steam. It's over for you. Art tax paid. Let me go take a look at the art tax. We probably won't be doing a whole lot of art tax this stream. I know, I'm sorry. Cursed. But, I do have, like, sort of a lesson plan, planned out, and I am a rambler, so I don't really want to be sitting here for, like, 5 hours, trying to get my point. So, we are gonna start here in just a minute, but let me take a look. Let me take a gander. Oh, Fable, this is beautiful art tags. Oh, I love it. Everybody go look at the artwork and artwork. Artwork and artwork, yeah. Go look in the Discord. This is awesome. Thank you so much for paying your art tax. Me late as always. Hi, Bodhi. Welcome in. Hi, Pancake. My art tax was my cake, true. And your cake is delicious. I wish I could eat it through the screen. Yeah, thanks for plugging the Discord. If you're not in my Discord, you should join my Discord. Okay. Hi, Dagmar. So, now that everybody's out of the ads, is everyone downloaded the worksheet that wants to download it, before we start? If you don't, then that's completely fine. You can just kind of watch and listen. That's fine too. But I wanted a kind of like interactive way we could go about this together. I have it downloaded. I'm attentive. Ah, already downloaded.
I'm evil queer.
I'm evil queer. Thank you. I'm evil. Okay. Hi, Porp. I like Porp. Why so curious? Okay. Anyway, let's begin. Can we start? Okay. So. Oh gosh. All right. Oh, my captions, they're so far away. Hold on. Let's fix that. Why'd you go so far away? Okay. That's better. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. Oh, it doesn't want to be nice. Why is it doing that? Stop. Okay. Alright. The little full body reminds me of the guy from Eugenics. Which little guy? Like from Eugenics. This is my little guy. So here's our worksheet. Yay. That booger. Eugenics has been left running my computer all day? What? Did you seriously leave it running? I saw you playing it earlier, but then, like, I saw you leave for work, so I was like, oh, okay. They're getting off of Eugenics. I didn't, like, think to continue looking at Steam. That is really funny. I'm so sorry. At least it's not, like, the heaviest game in the world. I think you're fine. P. Eugenics. Can you be nice? It's an awesome game. Aki would do that. I would. Beer. Okay. Get serious. Get serious. Get serious. Fuck, I'm modeling. I don't know what you're doing today. Dagmar, what a perfect introduction to anyone who doesn't know what the hell we're doing. Hi. I think like 2 people said that they wanted to see how I shaded and did my artwork with shading and color. So I thought it would be fun if we did an art class together, where I kind of show you my brain thoughts of how I go about shading and using color, and yeah, I want to clarify. This is not going to be professional. If you have come here expecting a professional tutorial with fancy smancy terminology and shit, this is not what that is. I have been drawing for too long, but I've never gone to art school or had like a formal art education. So I want to clarify that I'm still learning and figuring out what the hell I'm doing. So this is going to be an adventure for all of us. But I hope that with my silly explanations of things, that'll actually make it easier for you guys to understand, especially if you are not someone who draws all the time or has like 10 years of experience. So, you know, my silly brainness is actually working in our favor, I think. So, first, okay. Let me I don't have a script, so this is just coming from my brain. First, I want you to look at the layers that I have like set up for you. They should all be working in the way they should, as in I have split up a layer for the color of exercise 1, the colors of exercise 2, the flat colors of exercise 3, and yeah, let me know if that's all working, or if you have any questions. I can kind of help you, depending on what program you're using. Oh yeah, and like write your name. I want to see what work you did. If you want to share later. My name's Aki. I'm putting in the corner. I'm using Ibis Paint. I think that should work. For this kind of breakdown, the only layer styles I will be using and explaining is multiply, maybe add, and like maybe hard light, but those are, I think, universal layer styles that are in each program. But I'll talk about it more when we actually get there, but I want to explain that like layer styles can be very useful, but I think their full potential as a tool is more so to show us the potential of lighting and color in our pieces, and then working our way to being able to apply those colors without needing to rely on a layer style to achieve them. I'm fighting a stomach ache. Oh no! You'll only be listening and not taking notes. Hey, at least you're here for the attendance. I have noted it. I'm just kidding. But you're so brave and strong, Nina. I hope your stomach ache feels better soon. I'm using Procreate. I have Clip Studio. It scares me. That's real. I used Photoshop for like 7 years before I switched to Clip Studio. And before that, I used like Fire Alpaca, GIMP. That's a scary program. Okay. The first thing we're gonna do is a monochromatic exercise. I'm sure some of you have probably done this before. Maybe none of you have at all. But I'm going to explain that first get on the layer where you can clip over just this part. You can use it by using an alpha lock or whatever your program has to just keep to this color layer. Hi Quincy, welcome in! If you'd like to join us and grab a worksheet, you absolutely may. We are just starting, so you have not missed anything. I hope you're well, Quincy. Okay, so as we start to think about shading and color, I think the first like important thing is to understand that everything we see is in terms of light and shadow, right? But light and shadow in real life do not follow black and white. They are not monochromatic, at least not naturally. But when we are learning how to apply different levels of shadow and light to a physical object, it is easier to think of them in terms of black and white as values before we start to even think about color or apply color, because that's when it gets more complicated, but more fun, so don't be scared. So, for this exercise, I want you to work in just black and white. And this is a little more effective if you are working traditionally. Normally, you would have like a piece of charcoal or like a graphite pencil, and trying to work from the absolutely darkest value and work your way into the middle. I am just picking colors along my wheel and going down and trying to get to the lightest value you can. Now, this isn't particularly hard, and a lot of us are working in a digital program, so it makes it easier. But this is more so just a visualization for us to see the range of values without any color. Also, I'm sorry if I like miss anything in chat. I know this stream is probably going to be me yammering a lot. But if you guys have questions, please say so, and I will answer them. I am here to help you, and we are here to do this together. And there are no stupid questions. So if you have a question, please say so, and I would be happy to explain it. There is no shame if you don't understand something or want to know something else. I cut my thumb badly on an eyebrow razor. Oh no! I'm so sorry, Quincy. Yeah, this VOD will definitely be uploaded to Twitch and also my YouTube, so wee! Also, Pancake with the 3-stream streak, thank you! Thank you so much. Now, with these monochromatic colors, thank you for grabbing your moon energy. The idea is, like I said, is just to get a visualization of how far we can stretch these values without any inclusion of color at all. For me, this really helps, especially when we get to putting it onto a character, to think that there is not just two options of black or white. There are not even just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Because this color and this color, if you see my wheel here, these are pretty big jumps from each other. So going between these on my color wheel, I can make another color. I'm saying color, but I mean value. You know what I mean. So if we keep jumping here, I did that in the wrong spot. No, I didn't. Just kidding. You can see that we could do this forever. We could be here a while. Oh my god, I'm just like messing up. What is this? There we go. Yeah, like, we could do this for a while. Of just continuing this gradient. You see, it's getting harder to actually pick out distinct colors from each other, which is why gradient brushes are so helpful. Or I'm just colorblind, but, you know, this is good exercise. Anyway, that's kind of my point there, is that, we have a lot of room to work with. Yeah, art class for a colorblind individual. I forgot to... By the way, I'm colorblind, so... Take this with, a pinch of salt. Maybe a heavy heaping of salt. Anyway. So we can see that we have a large, like, options, to choose from. And we are going to practice putting these values into a three-dimensional shape. Ah, I know, it's scary. Oh, thank you for the hat. Alright. Hold on to your hats, because, I want you to trust me that we can turn these... Wait, you're colorblind? Yes. Partially. Kind of. Slightly. Hi, femboy! You know something scarier? Oh no. I don't know if I want to know. What was I saying? Okay. Hold on to your hats. We are going to turn these completely flat, two-dimensional circles into three-dimensional spheres. And we are going to use just these colors to do so. We are not adding any other lines. We are not making a... You know, we're not, like, doing this. We're not going to show that this is a spherical object, right? We are going to just trust our values that we've created, and we are going to focus on how this... Ah! My god! I'm being hit. Terrible teacher! Anyway, trying to draw a front profile of Protogen is scary. My bad. No, you're good. It's encouragement. Okay. So, there is no wrong way to approach this, but the point of this is to show you what I do. So, I'm going to do just that. First we're going to color this in a, like, a shade right smack in between our values of black and white. And you don't have to draw this if you don't want to, but I do think it is a good visualization to tell us where the light is coming from in our piece. And we want it to be coming from the top right. So we need to keep in mind that as our ball or sphere or orb is closer to this top right corner, the lighter these values are going to become. The most light value, or bright, should be right exactly where that light is going to touch. And the same goes in reverse, that our darkest values are going to be down here, which I can show here. We are actually going to add a shadow later, but, you know, it's good to keep in mind that top right are lighter values. Down towards our bottom left, it's going to be our darkest values. So, let's do just that. You can do this with a completely flat pencil, or you can go in with a kind of like softer painter brush. Either way, it's gonna work. So, it doesn't need to be fancy at first. We want to think about this orb as being not flat. So if we are looking, well, okay, hold on. Let me think. So, if this light is looking down at this ball, the the light is not going to be straight across like this. I will visualize. It would not be like this, right? It's round, so it's going to follow the same rounded shape like this. Band-Aid applied to my thumb. Good, good, good. John made us draw it for a whopping 6 months. Sorry, I was taking a sippy. So, our shadow is also going to be round. And we can follow this motion. It doesn't have to be fancy yet. We can just follow it up towards the top, where that brightest value is going to be. And we can just use this little guide that we have to color pick the values directly. And right here at the top should be our brightest value. Now I will say, with the brightest value, in like still life, for example, very rarely do we see like a strong concentration of completely black or completely white. These should be values that are kept subtle or minimally. So even for this really bright color, I'd recommend that it just stays like a highlight. And maybe like right along, here I'll zoom in a little bit, right along this edge of where the orb meets that bright light. We can show it a little bit of the brightest color that we have. And now that we have our lighters established, we are going to go down. And this is going to be the underside of our orb. And it's still following the shape of the circle we made. Now I do think I've gone too dark here. And you can kind of be able to like look at it and say, this doesn't really look quite right. If you're seeing like too much of a concentration in something and it's not the point of your piece, like there's not really dramatic, harsh lighting, it's okay to start over and rethink just how much you want to put down. Now there are times where dramatic lighting can be really, really important, and that's what we're going to do on the second sphere. But this is more so just a general, you know, your ordinary orb. And you can, like, mix these two colors to have a smoother transition. Can you draw Kirby's face on the ball? Yeah, hold on. What does Kirby look like? I'm a fake fan. I don't know what Kirby looks like. Oh. Yeah, hold on. Is it like this? Kirby! It's like... That's Kirby. Anyway, if I'm going too fast, or if you have any questions, please let me know. I will slow down. There's Kirby. I'm gonna lurk as I kind of mellow out for the night. Take care, Bodhi. Thank you for lurking. I appreciate it. Chill, lovely art, educational, happy vibes. Ooh, that's so kind. I hope this is not silly, but stretch and posture. Thank you. We will. Let's stretch out those wings. And a hydrate. Yippee! I'm locked into my sphere. Yes! I'm so excited to see all your spheres. Okay, I will continue my sphere. And keeping in mind that shadows are generally, and I'm also saying this in a traditional sense, but it can apply to digitally too. It is generally much harder to establish lighting compared to shadows, because, God, that looks really heavy-handed already on my poor sphere. So it can be really tricky to establish enough shadow without it overwhelming the piece, which is why we need to jump from these smaller values and work up. And this shadow can creep along the front of this ball here, as because our lighting is at the top right angle, this shadow is actually going to creep along this face of the ball because it's not flat, right? So you can have it sneak a little bit this way to show the curvature of the ball. I'm going to continue trying to soften this transition here. And it can also go, just like the front, it can go over top as well. How do you not know what Kirby looks like? Dude, I don't... I was trying to draw an anchor today, and I realized, like, I just don't know what the hell things look like. Like, in my brain, when people talk about apples, like, you can see the apple in your mind. For me, there's nothing. There's, like, static. The fun part about this practice is that everyone's will look different. I know! I'm so excited. That's generally one of my favorite, like, when I was thinking about this, I was really excited to see the variation of everyone's pieces. My pen died a long time ago. I forgot to buy batteries. Oh, I'm gonna get some sleep for once. Take care, friend boy. Thanks so much for saying hi anyway. And I hope you have a great night. Aphantasia? Is that what that's called? Gotta adjust the antenna, get better signal. Yeah, something's wrong. You too, thank you. I will. I have 5D Apple. I'm just on that right now. The person you are with the most day-to-day is literally the biggest Kirby fan I know. I know. They love Kirby so much, and I just don't remember his face. I don't remember a lot of things. Oh, okay, it is Aphantasia. Yeah, which is interesting being an artist, that I can't see things in my head. Okay, anyway, sphere time. I hope everyone's locking into their spheres. Again, with our darkest value, we do not want it to overpower. So I'm actually going to turn my brush really, really small, and it is going to be the very bottom of this orb, where there would be no light touching it. And you can't even see it because of the line art, but it's there. We know it's there. But I'm actually going to completely say that I just lied to you just now. That the darkest part of our ball is not going to receive light. I lied to you. And I'm sorry. But it will make sense in a moment. I will let everyone catch up a little bit on their spheres. I don't want to launch right into the next big topic without everyone being ready. It's a spectrum of how well you can picture stuff. Amputation colorblind is not the first thing you think of with artists, but I love how everybody has the capacity for art. Yeah, truly. And I don't think my colorblindness is like severe enough. Obviously, I still like make a lot of art that utilizes color, and people don't say, did you mean to use this? But it is, I think it's with like reds and purples that I have a lot of trouble distinguishing. I'm drawing evil Kirby on my second sphere. Okay. So, I'm gonna tell you why I just lied to you. And that is because when we think about objects in real life, I want you to picture this orb in front of you and the environment that is around it. The color, we're going to talk about this later with color, but for now, when we think about objects being in a three-dimensional space with an environment, the light that is coming from the top right of our ball is not just hitting our ball, but let me visualize this a little. Whoops, I forgot I did that on the same layer. Okay. So, the light that is coming down here is not just hitting our ball. That's just not how things work. But it is also hitting the table. That maybe this table or this surface that this ball is resting on. This light is going to hit this table, and it is going to bounce back up into our object. This light reflecting, whatever the fuck, it's not just disappearing into the table. It is going to bounce back up into our object, and that is called reflective light, or bounce light, or environmental light. A lot of different words for it. Essentially, we just need to know that this orb is not in a isolated space, and we're going to go back in. It is not going to be your brightest value. It is probably going to be somewhere close to the middle. It depends on what the object is resting on. But we'll get into that more later with color. But you can add right along the edge of your orb a little bit of that reflected light. Just like that. It doesn't have to be a lot. Let me zoom in. I'm not even sure if you can see that. There. And this can be more dramatic. This can be really subtle. Again, it depends on what the surface is. For us, it is just a line. So we can make it as drastic or as simple as we want. Or as bright as we want. Maybe there's something really, really shiny underneath this ball. Ball? Why did I say it like that? Underneath this ball. And it might reflect that light more easily than it would like a wood table, right? Call the Boston. I'm sorry. I'm not even Boston. I'm from... Alright. I completely forgot about bounce light. This changes things. Aha! I taught you something. Bounce light is one of my favorite things to use in art, especially when we get to complementary and tertiary colors. But that is later. Color makes it really, really fun to play with bounce light and, like, taking in consideration of the environment. But I'm getting excited. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, with this table, we can also infer that, you can add this on a new layer, or you don't have to do this at all. I'm just gonna do this for, showing you what I mean. Let me erase this table. You don't have to do this. I'm going to do this just for showing you. Because this light, we're keeping in mind that the bottom left is where our ball is resting, there is a shadow that rests underneath our little orb. The shadow is going to be darkest, but not pure dark, or pure black. Keep in mind that the pure black should be sparing. I'm going to keep it right at this edge of where we put it before. And this shadow can get lighter as it gets closer to the edge. Just like that. And you could even make this, like, softer. It doesn't have to be so harsh. Oh, thank you for the follow! Welcome in! I appreciate you being here. Welcome into the eclipse. We are doing a little art lesson. So this shadow, it's not perfect. I'm gonna say that right now. It's really not perfect. That could be better. I think it's a little dark. But this is to show the weight of the ball right along that edge that we made. I should, like, circle this with a big red circle, like a YouTube thumbnail. This is right where we put that little edge of black. But also, this bounce light that we made, it also affects shadows. It is not just objects. So this can affect the very edge of our shadow. That's the original design of Kirby? Is it really? Welcome in, CRISPR Crow. He wasn't originally pink, he was white. That's so funny. I didn't do that on purpose. I was told to draw a Kirby face, and it was already a white sphere. Homie, I'm learning so much right now. I'm so glad. That really makes me happy. I'm so glad. I'm having fun. So, how are we feeling about our spheres, y'all? Are we okay to move on to maybe a more drastic lighting setting? I was taking a sip. But also, if you want me to wait, that is totally fine. I want to not rush through this. I think I'm ready. Okay, excellent. And if there's anybody new lurking, we do have a worksheet just like this that you can download for free, and I am showing shading and color and just kind of running through the fundamentals in a silly way because I am not professional at all. But this is free to you if you'd like to hop in and join us. I'm ready? Okay, fantastic. Sorry, Kirby. Be gone. We are going to move on to our second ball. Now, with this ball, it was coming from the top right. With this one, I think I want to show you what happens when the light is coming from the underneath of an object. We're going to do the same angle. Actually, you know what? No, we're not going to do the same angle. What if the light was coming from directly underneath this orb? And our shadow is on the very top. Hi, Al, welcome in. We have just gotten started if you'd like to join us doing some art shading exercises. So, if our light is on the bottom of the ball, again, I think we are... I shouldn't say I think. What teacher says I think? Anyway. we're gonna go back in with that same middle value that we created. And if our light is on the very top, we're gonna do the same thing. While keeping in mind this sphere is not flat. Don't do this. This is not how a circle looks in real life. You ever looked at a globe and it looks like this? No. We're gonna follow the shape of the ball in a kind of a half arch. All the way to the top. I'm a tad sick. I'm gonna lurk. Enjoy yourself, Al. I'm so sorry you're sick. But thank you so much for stopping in. I hope you feel better. I just sorted my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I have about 800 cards. Oh my god. Where's Dagmar? Dagmar at the Yu-Gi-Oh mention. I think I remember turning the oven off. I say that from home, that's 2 hours away. Oh no. Let's hope that VOD remembered to turn its oven off. Alright. Now, for this, I'm going to show what happens if our light source is really, really bright. So this could be directly under a flame, or just a really bright light. Whatever it is, these light values are going to be a lot more dramatic towards the end of our ball. We could even go to pure white. Right at the edge. So already our sphere is a lot more dramatized than our first one. Dagmar, where's Dagmar? Your Yu-Gi-Oh friend is here! Where is he? I'm tagging him. I'm being annoying. Dagmar! Anyway. Okay. So we're going to come in with our shadow, and it's going to do the opposite shape. Not opposite. Hello? Same shape that we did with our light. Following the curve of the ball. No Yu-Gi-Oh during class! No distractions! This is a school. Behave yourselves. So we're just going to get darker as we get to the bottom of the ball. Now with this darkest value, we are going to do the same little mini circle, but also we're going to go along the edge here. And we can soften this out. But this is to show that the shadow is not flat. It is going on all surfaces of the ball. And same with our bright here. We're actually going to take this up closer to the sides. Because this light that's coming from down here, it's not just hitting the very bottom, like if this was like a pole on, I don't know, like an axis, right? The light is not just hitting the very tip of it, it's going around the object. So we're just going to work on smoothing this out. And just trying to think of this object in a three-dimensional shape. Bring these shadows down. It's okay for this to be messy. A lot of the time, you're not going to get it right the first time. Or even when you finish a piece, it might not look good. But that is kind of an essential for learning. There are a lot of pieces I do, and I look at the lighting, and I look at the shadows, and I'm like, well, that wasn't as dramatic as I wanted it to be. And I learned from that, and I know to push my values more the next time. So this dark we're actually going to take down as well and follow that kind of curve shape. This is kind of a weird one. I'm almost thinking this wasn't the best example. But you know, that's what we're doing here, right? We're experimenting, we're noodling around. But we could say that the dark and the light values of this one is a lot different from our first one. It's a lot more dramatic. Yeah, it takes a bit of work to get it how you want. That's exactly right. So, we consider our bounce light from before. We can help soften up these shadows by going in and establishing that environmental lighting. That also helps us make it not look so, scary. I think this second one is not so much a good example of how usually objects in a 3D space are going to look, but I just wanted you to practice applying these heavier, like darkest values, and kind of seeing what happens in the middle when you try to make it a transfer from one to the other. And because this brighter light is right at the, like, bottom of this ball, we're probably not going to get a nice little highlight that we see on our first ball. This light here is telling us that this light isn't actually, like, right here, and we can see that with these, like, arcs here, that the light is actually coming more like this onto our object. Sorry, I'll move it over. So our visualization is here, but more accurately, our light is coming from somewhere up there. And wherever your light is hitting is where the shadows are going to kind of follow. Now, you don't have to erase this one, but I am going to start over and show you a new example. I should have drawn more spheres, but I didn't, so we're going to deal with this. So, we're going to do the same that we did before, but just in the opposite way. Our light is coming from the bottom left instead of the top right. I think this will be easier to show you how these arcs will reverse with where the light is pointing. So, we're actually just going to use the same colors that we did with this one. And because our light is coming from this bottom, we're going to think about it hitting like this. And again, this brighter white, we can have a little highlight here on the very edge. And then we go in with our darker ones. That's the same color. And again, you can see these arcs that are moving away further as we go from the source of light. And that's because this object is spherical. On other objects, they're not going to behave the same way, but we'll get to that. But if you remember, we're going to carry the shadow sort of down and close, hugging the side. And come in with a darker value. Now this is where the light is absolutely not reaching towards. This may vary depending on the strength of your light, the location, etc. But we can say that the shadow is pretty light. And then, just like before, we're going to go in with our bounce light. There's environmental lighting somewhere. We've got like a gray, beige background. We can say it's bouncing back onto our shadow here. Oh my gosh, we already have an ad break. What the freak? Okay, so work on finishing your second ball. If you decided to redo it, if you didn't, that's totally cool. I honestly think that this is a better example than what I was doing. Again, I'm not working from a script. We're raw dogging this. Finish on working your balls. Sorry. Finish up your balls. It just doesn't sound good. We're gonna have an ad break in about 10 seconds, so I think this is a good break for us to do some wrist motion stretches. Stretch yourself out. Get some water. Maybe get a snack if you need it. And we'll hang out for a second. We can give ourselves a little break. Thank you, Thumps, for the hydrate. I will. I'll do that right now. I'm still trying to do the underball light. You can get really wrapped up in doing the underlight. Sippies, I'm sippings. Also, I just realized we met the follow goal. Thank you! At least the daily follow goal. Thank you! I think it carried over from the last time. That's so awesome. We are... Oh gosh. We're like 9 followers away from 300. What do you mean there's 300 of you? What the fuck? That's so cool. Yeah, we've got the ad break now. You know what? How about a little treat for my moths that are still here from no ads? Let's put on some fruits. I want to watch some fruits as I, get a little snack. I'm gonna get apples out of my fridge. Do you have a favorite apple? These are pink ladies. I like these. But I kind of like all apples. I'm not picky. Green apples? Do you mean like Granny Smith ones? Those are pretty good. I don't mind green apples. They can sometimes be a little too sour for me. Yeah, I think those are good. That's a solid apple. Welcome back to the apple debate. It's because I'm eating apples. Um, as we watch fruits. Aang's Taekyon has me by the heartstrings. Elaborate. Who is this? I'm done with my orbs. Let's go. I'm glad. Finishing up your orbs. You like Fuji apple? I also bought a Fuji apple. I haven't cut it up yet, though. Orbs of destruction! Yes! Okay, welcome back to the ad. From the ads. Not to the ads. I have eaten my apples. I eat them with the skin on, uncut. Well, duh. Actually, I shouldn't say duh. Um, I eat them with the skin on. What do you mean? I do cut them up though. I don't really bite straight into an apple. Um, I will say that. Eyebrow slit has been acquired on the Quincy? Hell yes. I love my unintentional eyebrow slit because I got my head busted open as a kid. Um, and now I have an eyebrow slit. Um, it is funny though. I had an eyebrow piercing there, and then it just ripped out. So, it's even worse. Don't know how that happened. I found it in the bottom of my shower. I was like, oh, okay. That's cool. I like apples that aren't grainy or mushy. Amen. Don't give me a mushy, grainy apple. I hate the skin, I just can't eat it. Okay, that's fair. Sorry. I didn't mean to go duh. There are sensory issues. I have no room to judge. 75% of the time I can't eat chicken because it freaks me out. But my favorite restaurant is a fried chicken place. Okay. Anyway. Orbs. Did everyone finish their orbs? Because we're going to now get into something a little more complicated. But not terribly. We're gonna do it together, so it won't be scary. Yes, yes. Okay. My orb of destruction. Alright. I'm so excited to see your orbs. I made the orbs in my mind, and that's what counts. Mine was sort of unintentional too. I have this awful stim where I pull at my eyebrows, and there's this one area I pick at where there's no hair. So I figured I'd at least touch it up. Yeah, that's real! Oh my god! Look at these beautiful orbs I'm looking at! Oh my god! Look at them! Look at you using color before everyone else. These are beautiful. I like them. And I like that the second one, you tried to push the shadows more. I wanted them to be blue. No, they're beautiful. Beautiful orbs, my love. Okay. Number 2! We're doing exercise 2! So move to the layer that says 2, color in. Clip it, lock it, alpha lock it, whatever your program supports. It should be all colored in for you. Now, you can pick whatever direction you want for these. I suggest drawing a little guide, and if you're unsure, maybe follow the same examples as the orbs above it. That's what I'm gonna do, just because I want to see like a visual representation of like these values on an object. So what happens when we put these values onto a shape that is not a simple like sphere, right? Because most things that we are going to draw do not have overly like simple shapes. They are three-dimensional, they have jutting angles, they have a whole bunch of weird things about them. So shadows are going to behave differently on a object like this, like a head. Hi Imagine, welcome in! We are doing an art kind of class teaching. There's a worksheet that is a download right above me in the chat if you'd like to join us. We are now moving on from kind of fundamental orb shadow studies and moving to a character and how these shadows and light behave on a character. So oh, hi, Akko, welcome in. Unless you've been lurking. Hi. How are you? I'm good. I hope you're well as well. Well as well? Well, yes. Happy Wednesday. Alrighty. So, I'm going to follow the same middle as our orb on this little moth creature. I need to charge my phone. Best of luck. Also get your salmon. Yummy. I'm gonna draw instead of playing League of Legends. We've saved someone from League of Legends, guys. I say this affectionately. I'm glad that you want to draw with us. Alrighty. So, we have established that our light is coming from the top right. Right? Yes. So, I find it easiest to kind of go in with not our brightest value, but go with like big shapes first and establish like where the light is hitting. It is going to hit this antenna, this ear, and like this part of the face. And it doesn't have to be accurate right away. We can tune it and fix it later. But we are just thinking about where this light's gonna hit. Like, this ear for the most part. Maybe a little bit on this ear. But it's getting further away and it's kind of obstructed by this antenna here. And then we're gonna go in with a slightly brighter value. And we're gonna do the same thing. But thinking about more closely, like, more bright light is going to hit this antenna rather than this one. Might get a little bit. Same with this hair, top of the head, gets a little more. This ear is definitely getting a lot of it. And maybe it's hitting the bridge of the nose. And you can really play with this as much as you want, that, how much is getting hit and how much isn't. There is no wrong way to do this. Not really. But just keeping in mind that, you know, these lines that we have are here to help us. That these antennas, they're kind of like our sphere. Of like, here's a piece that's going to round out towards the edge. Here's another piece that's going to, like, kind of round out to the edge, like these arcs here, with these shadows. Like this. I just noticed the TV with subtitles! Oh, I'm so glad! Yes, they are there, I hope, to help anyone who is non-native speaker, and I have auditory processing issues, so it helps to have subtitles. I'm so glad it helps you. I cannot draw under the lines. I don't know why. Oh, are you on the layer that says 2? They should be labeled by exercise 1 color and exercise 2. Let me know if that fixes, and if not, we will troubleshoot. Even in my native language, there are a lot of things I don't understand. That's completely fair. I don't think you have a slow brain. Others just process things differently than other people, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was only 1 layer? What? Uh-oh. That's not right. Is anyone else having that same issue where, there's just 1 color layer? Mine worked. What are all the layers you see, Stella? Just, oh, so there's just 1. What? What? You downloaded the PSD file, right? Not the PNG? I have them all. Okay. We're gonna figure this out. You think so? What program are you using? You said Procreate. So... Procreate should support PSD files. Is anyone else happening to use Procreate right now? We must save Stella. I wonder if it just didn't, if it didn't, like, process the layers. Okay. I don't mean to cause trouble. No, you're not at all. We're trying to help you. I could just send a line art layer. If you could, that would be so fantastic, Fate. Stella, if that works for you, and you can just download, that line art layer from Fate. And then, you should be able to fill in the lines, like, pretty easily. Hi, Chibi! Welcome in! How are you? Happy not Monday, Wednesday! My brain is still in Monday. Yes, please? Okay, fantastic. Fate will get you situated. Thank you so much, Fate. So, back to our object here. With the shadows too, we're going to think about the shadows coming from the bottom left. Start soft at first, but we have to consider this is like a skull, right? Light that is coming from this way is going to be different if this part is kind of like further back from the light, if that makes sense. This is underneath the jaw. And same here, except this is going to be a little lighter because it's actually closer to our light source. And we can tinker with this as much as we need to. It's not going to look perfect right away. I just joined your server. I'm so glad, Imagine! Welcome into the Eclipse. We're so happy to have you as a new mothling. I just added you on Discord. Awesome. Hopefully that works And of course my subtitles choose right now to give out. Really? Really, really, freaking really? Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in to the Eclipse. You can stay a lurking little bug if you'd like. They are anonymous, but we appreciate you being here. So I'm gonna keep carrying the shadow that I have from my orb. Just to think about where all the parts where this light isn't really gonna touch. So that's the underside of the ears. I'm keeping it lighter on this side. And as we have like established the shadow, can reach it higher. Now I do want to say this is like really simple. Like I've really just simplified this because human faces, especially in light and shadow, can get very complicated. Like there'll be like a whole bunch of shapes. Like this like little nose usually on a person has shadow, like indicating the eyes. Like it can get complicated, but for this, we're just gonna try to keep it simple and follow what we did on the ball. This is more so to show how shadows and light can behave on an object that's a little more complicated. Oh, thank you for the pet. We also know that this muzzle is like sticking out from the face, so it might actually catch more light than the surrounding face, if that makes sense. Is that the sound of Tomodachi Life? It's actually the Animal Crossing eating noise, or like the laughing noise. Yeah, I think it's laughter. I've never played Tomodachi Life. Yeah. So I'm just gonna continue, kind of going darker as I go to show, like, where the light is not reaching. And I'm not considering markings or anything like that. We are just thinking purely in terms of dark and light. Down here below the mouth, it's going to be darker because this is not in view. And in the eyes, too. Our eyes are not flat shapes. You can see in my eyes, there is shadows of where our lids rest above our eyes. So this can be in our characters, too. Now, in my characters, this is more so like a stylistic choice, but I like to go a little brighter with a value on like the inside, like the middle of where this shadow is. It's not super realistic, but it kind of is. But there are ways to play with light and shadow in a stylistic way to make it fun. It doesn't have to be realistic to still look good. Hi, Ice Mage, welcome in! So while we're keeping in mind of like this semi-realistic orb, rules in art are meant to be broken. At least that's what I think. Understanding the fundamentals and how things behave is really important. However, they're not like a strict thing to adhere to all the time. I believe that the true potential for art really comes out when you understand these fundamentals, like these orbs we did, and then we mess with them in our actual art. And we play with them, and we say, well, what if it behaved like this? You know, I hope that makes sense of what I'm saying. it's important to know the basics, and it's important to know how these things behave. But it is not a necessity. So this brighter white, I'm going to outline and show the brightest part on these little antennae in the hair and this ear. There's going to be a little bit on this ear, but not much. And I go a little lighter, show again, like, this muzzle is being hit, and, like, this top part of the nose. And these shadows can be as deep as you want them to be, depending on, like, how dramatic of a light source you want. Like, down here we could do pretty dark. Because there's no light reaching the underneath of this character. Yeah. So, not the most dramatic thing we could do, but I think it serves its purpose. If you want to go even more, we can think about that there's weight under the eyes. There's probably a shadow behind this muzzle. There's probably a shadow of, like, these antennae. And this, like, brighter color, it can peek into our eyes. Like this. And the brightest part is the closest. And same what we did before, that bounce light, that environmental light, where this character is going to come back. And I try to keep these to the shadows rather than a highlight, because a highlight is an entirely different thing. It acts in the same way as a environmental bounce light, like this is, sort of. But the difference is that this is not... It's hard to explain when we are just working in black and white. We're going to move on to color, but highlights and bounce lights are different, because eventually we are going to see that the environmental light stems from the color that is being reflected from the environment from our source light onto our object, and how that translates into color. A highlight comes from the direct source of light, and that is often a different color entirely. So for this exercise, it's going to kind of look the same, but trust me, highlights can be your closest, brightest value, and they can show the strongest parts of where this light is hitting. And that's going to be along this ear and these antennae. And, you know, just for fun, there's like a little shine in the eyes from our direct source of light. My TV keeps blocking it. I'm going to take a little hydrate break, but this gives you time if you're still working on the first one, and then we'll move on to the second one. It's gonna take me a minute to catch up. Absolutely. Take your time, Stella. I'm glad it's working for you now. I'm going to move on to the second one. Not really much to explain. I'm just gonna follow our orb that we made earlier. So if you're ready to move on, feel free to do so. But if you don't, take your time. There is no rush. My light is coming from the bottom, just like our orb. So I'm going to block out big shapes and consider where on this character. Oh my god, excuse me. Where on this character is this light hitting? I think I got it. I sent it to the artwork. I'm gonna head out now. Take care, Fable. Thank you so much for being here for our art class. I'm gonna take a look at what you made. Oh, this looks beautiful. I love that the you made a little guy out of the character. And the orb you did is really good, especially the highlight. I think you really showed the bounce light and the environmental light extremely well. Well done. Thank you so much for being here, Fable. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. And when we're establishing the light on the opposite side, we can kind of use the shadows as a reference too. Like, these little cheek fluffs got a round kind of edge to it, like our sphere. So I'm just going to do the same thing with our light source now. And it's this underside of the antenna now that are getting the light. And with this light being on the bottom left, this right side of the face can be obscured in shadow. We can't really tell, but if you think about this being an animal in front of us, or a creature, this opposite side of the face where the light is not hitting is really not going to get a lot of that harsh light. So it could be obscured in shadow. It's going to get a little bit of where the mouth is open and cuts away to that cheek, but we can really play with the shadow here. And this is what I meant of like learning the fundamentals and then breaking them. We can push this really as much as we want to, as long as we generally still follow like how the shadow is going to behave. Like, is this perfect? Hell no. But also looking at pictures of things in real life and drawing from still life can really help. Who's gonna say that I was obscuring that the whole time? Anyway. I'm getting a lot of practice for direct underlight. I picked something hard. Good! You should challenge yourself. I definitely need to do that more with myself, of picking something intentionally hard and studying from reference and being like, okay, I can do this. And now I almost think this shadow's too bright, so I'm going to soften it down like that. It is really easy to give up as an artist. It can be really easy to feel demotivated and like stumped when something isn't looking right or if it's hard, and I've been there a lot. But being able to make something and try, and even if it looks terrible, it's like, well, I did that. I learned something, and now I can try again the next time with the more knowledge that I have. It's more than what you knew when you started. Even if you don't feel proud of it, it's like you did that. And now you can take that knowledge onto the next experience and the next attempt. But that can be really, really demotivating and discouraging when it's like, I'm just not getting this right. But I want you to know the not secret is that every artist does that. There is no artist in the world that says, I love everything I make and I feel good about it every time. If they say that, they're lying to you. It's not true. It's so normal to not be satisfied with what you make, but it's needing to make the best of it and carrying that into a new attempt. Make it a learning experience. It is not failure. Yeah, like, you're too in control of what you do and draw. So it's important to also, like, take a step back. And sometimes it really helps, like, asking an opinion of a trusted colleague or a friend or a community like this, which is why I like doing this, of, like, sharing art together and being able to get feedback of, like, I've been staring at this for 4 hours, what do you think? And feedback sometimes is excellent because they will point out things that maybe you didn't notice before. Of like, hey, I think this face right here is too bright compared to the light source. And I'd be like, shit. Well, yeah, you're right. This shouldn't have such a harsh highlight right here. And I'm already more content with it. I'm showing the little bright in the eyes. This one I can push the shadows more. I'm not going dark enough. It's been like almost 2 hours and we haven't even gotten to color yet. I'm sorry. I knew this was gonna be me talking for a long time. Um, but we're almost there. We're almost at color. I swear. Okay. I think I'm gonna call my guy there. Done. Not perfect. Um, definitely has a harsher light here at the bottom, which is cool. I like it. I'm gonna add some environmental light. Just a little bit of bounce light. Cool. There's my little guy. I'm gonna give y'all some time to finish up with your monochromatic exercises, and then we're gonna get into the meat of it. We're gonna actually start talking about color, I promise. The color is... I'm very excited. It's my favorite part. Because I'll be here forever. That's exactly sometimes what I have to do. Of like, okay, I could tinker this forever. Need to stop. We've got our point across. I'm gonna stretch my back out a bit. Hi, Finn! Hello, Finn! Welcome in! We are doing our art class. We have just finished our kind of monochromatic exercises. If you want to hop in, you're totally free to. There's a downloadable link that's pinned to a PSD. It has all the files and stuff, like layers sorted. We're about to talk about color. So I'm gonna wait a little bit because I know Stella was a little behind and there's a couple people still working. And I don't want to start yammering about colors without them. I said I'd leave, but I'm still here. I noticed. I was like, someone is still fishing. I'm not gonna complain. I like when you're here. I need my trophy. You do need your trophy. It's dire. I think I will continue working on a drawing. I'll be paying attention in the background. Awesome! I'm so glad you're here regardless. I just thought I'd toss the offer out. Maybe I'll finally pay my art taxes. Give me your art taxes. I don't think you've paid a single one, ever. Give it. You have committed art tax fraud. And for that, your punishment is, death. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're not killing you. Um, no. I'm too young to die! Not in the eclipse you aren't. I'm ready for the color. I'll fix up the spheres and little guys later. Awesome. Okay. I had to re-wake my art classes I attended. Thank you, Aki. I should be the best artist now. Yay! Like a moth. Get it? Get it? Alright. Time for the fun part. Color! Yay! So, now that we have thought about values ranging from black to white on 3D objects, what happens when we take that object into a space that is obviously not black and white? What we see in real life is not shades of black and white. Even, like, if you look around you now, I don't know if you've got a desk space, but for my desk space, I am in a room that is very warmly lit. I have a lot of lamps, and their light is not white. And even LED lights are not white. They're blue. But for example, these lamps that I have, they're orange. They give off an orange-yellow light. And the shadows in my room are blue. They might look gray and dark, but they are not black. They are blue. And this can be because of the environment. the objects, like we talked about, how they can change the colors of that what we're seeing with a light source. So, to understand this best, I think we need to talk about the color wheel. All of you should have a color wheel on your you know, on your thing. I'm just gonna kind of go around, make a color wheel. This is kind of a bad color wheel. I'm just fucking go around. Anyway, you get it. It's a color wheel. Now, as a fellow colorblind dude, it's gonna be crazy. Yeah, colorblind person teaches you color theory. Let's go. So, okay, this should be yellow. Just freaking out right now. Okay. This should be yellow. We are not going to think about values yet. A lot of people are finding out I'm colorblind. This stream. Yes. I'm to bother my bestie so much for this. Yeah. But even if you're colorblind, the way color theory works on a color wheel, even if you're colorblind, it should still work. So, you know, normal people looking at your art will be like, wow, the intentional usage of these colors are so pretty. They're absolutely not colorblind, and they'll never know. So, first we need to talk about red, yellow. Shit, what's the other one? Blue! Are these... Wait, I'm psyching myself out. These are our primary colors, right? These are our primary colors. I am not going to teach you color theory in the way that I should. Instead, I'm going to teach you in a way that my brain says it. Here, actually... So, red, yellow. Wow, this is a really bad color wheel. They should be, like, in a diamond. It's a bad color wheel. Those are our primaries. Complementary colors are probably going to be the ones you want to use the most when we think about color in terms of light and shadow. It's cyan, yellow, and magenta. Alright, so what the heck is a complementary color? Hold on, I'll write it out. How do you spell? Complementary color. Complementary color, an easy way, instead of remembering them, I don't remember them. I don't remember anything. You want to look at your color wheel, like for red, for example. You are going to find the color that is across from the wheel. Now, my wheel is kind of stupid. This is not a good wheel. Red to green. Hold on. Red to green. This red really should be like closer to down here. Red to green. That is our first complementary color. Hold on, I'm thinking. Alright. Purple to yellow. I'm sorry this color wheel sucks. Purple to yellow. And our last one is orange to blue. I will tell you now, in almost all of my artwork, orange to blue is the one I use the most. It can just be personal preference, but most of the time I am thinking about environments that have cool shadows and warm highlights. And orange to blue most often is the one that works the most. That is not a hard and fast rule. You can absolutely use red to green, purple to yellow, but complementary colors is an easy way when we're thinking about light and shadow in two halves, right? We want our shadow to be a color, and we want our highlights to be a color. So most often, it is easy to do complementary colors. It's two colors. I know that one. It's the one you wear and you get the most compliments. Yes, exactly. You got it. Probably makes sense because of light colors. Yeah. So, and the thing with, what I said earlier about breaking rules, red to green, if you look at your color wheel, red and green, complementary color. But what if I wanted to shift my wheel to, this magenta purple? Well, if I remember, red's complement was green. So, magentas would be more of this sea green. And those would still be complementary colors. The trick, you don't have to know shit about color theory. If you look at a wheel, and you pick one place, and you go across from it, you're gonna have a complementary color. Almost always. They are going to look good together. That is just how the wheel works, and it's awesome, and I don't question it. So if obviously purple to yellow, that is the complement. But if I wanted, let's say, this really specific yellow-greenish color, then it would look best somewhere between this purple and this magenta-ish pink color. Red and blue also look good together for some reason, even though they're not complementary. Yes, that's exactly right. And it's also because they're primary colors. Our three primary colors, for some reason, in our human brain, this just looks delicious. They are, they're the primary colors for a reason. And they also, because they make up every other color. Red and blue, but again, if you look at the color wheel, why do red and blue look so good together? Well, red's right here. Blue, you go down, it's right there. And orange to blue, so this orange to this kind of lighter blue, complementary. So this really saturated red and this really saturated blue, they look good together. They're going across from the color wheel. All this to say is that we want, in this simple example, shadows. We want to pick our complementary color 1. Light is our complementary color 2. Now there are other color combinations, like tertiary colors. That is red, green, and blue. Those are our primary colors. Or, usually it's this magenta, fuchsia, this lime green, and this blue. That is a really common tertiary color pattern, whatever. I think they are useful, and they can be really good in certain compositions, but for today, we're not going to talk about tertiary colors because it's going to get way too confusing when we're just trying to break up what we did here in this first part was one really, really dark side and one really, really light side. So we're going to focus on just our two complements. And we have this little guy that we are going to experiment on with our colors. And before we do that, I wanted to show you some of my work that I have used these complementary colors. And you're going to see that I use the orange and blue a lot. But it's easier for me to show you how I incorporate the shadows, and then with that environmental lighting that I was telling you about, they go into the shadows as well. So, first, I'm just going to kind of walk you through this. But first, I want to show a kind of progression of my art that I've been doing for a couple of years with my friend Wraith's character. First time I drew him was 2020. And this isn't to like make fun of me 6 years ago, right? But like, I want you to look at the lighting and like the depth of it, or like the lack of it, right? This is a character that is obviously being very heavily lit by this orange here, and it is reflecting back onto his shoulder. And there's not much variation. Like, we can see this orange, I was onto something, because this character, you can see our two colors here on the color wheel. Purple and orange, they're kind of in like an opposite direction of each other. So however old I was thinking on the right track, but I really wasn't like conscious of picking colors that were complementary of each other. It's on the right track, but it wasn't there. And yeah, it looks a bit flat. That's exactly right, Ren. We can also see that this is just like a flat distribution of shadow. There is no increasing like what we showed here. There is no there's no movement of the shadow going from dark to light. It is all just kind of like focused here and goes up. So it is brighter here, but these shadows in the back aren't getting darker. If this character is in pure darkness, these shadows should be encroaching in on his form, and like this should be completely in shadow. If behind, this foot should be completely in shadow. This ear probably too. So yeah. Then we move on to 2023, which was 3 years later. You can see already there is an improvement of the darkest part of the character, which is back here, moving forward and towards this light. And we can kind of see here on the planes of the face, I was following that curve of the orb. Like, this part of his face, it cuts in. This is the brightest part that gets lit. This part is in shadow. And these little arcs here showing the light. And even in the eye, too, you can see. The light, I'm starting to think more consciously of how the light takes shape on a 3D object. But then, again, you can see back here, there's still not a lot of, not pushing that shadow as much as it really could. But we do start to see some good environmental light that happens here. This gets illuminated by this fire. And there is an additional highlight here. There is like shadows in the gaps of the toes. It was like really a good step from here. But we can see like room for improvement. Like this, I don't know if you can see it on stream depending on the stream quality, but on these legs here, we're starting to see more conscious thought towards like how this fire would behave on whatever surface he is on. It's warm, accenting these like really harsh light stripes here. There's like a hint of orange that is coming here. It looks so cool with the right shading. We can see it. Fantastic. Yeah. So, and also we can see that this color is a lot closer to purple than it was last time. This purple before, here, example, I'm taking it from the same part of the tail. It's a lot grayer, and it's also not as purple. You can see a direct difference there. So this is a lot closer to purple. And this orange, too, is a lot closer to how it should be if they are complementary colors. Purple and yellow. Also, I know it's the pose, but it looks more intentional instead of the fires burning him. Yeah, exactly. We are getting closer to the image of him actually, like, cradling this fire. And I think, like, shapes in art is also, like, an entirely separate thing I could talk about, of, like, arc of movement. But this piece doesn't really draw our eyes anywhere. We go here, this arm kind of brings us up to the face, but then it just, like, piddles out. We don't really know where the flow is going. But here, our face goes to his eyes, goes down to his hand, it curves out, and then takes us back to the rest of the piece. It goes into the tail. But that has nothing to do with color. We have an ad break in a minute, so I should shut up and let you guys take a break if you need it. Get a snack, get a drink. I'm gonna drink. Yeah, and then we'll move on to, like, the final piece of this, and I'll show you how, yeah, we'll talk about it. Thank you for showing us your progression. Learning that's from so helpful. I'm so glad. I know it can be, like, kind of disgusting to look at, like, old stuff you've done, but it is a really good tool if you need to, like, consider, like, well, the colors I used here weren't very effective. How did it change over time? And even if you aren't consciously thinking it, like, I really can't say that I was consciously thinking of the color theory when I was making this art, but clearly it stuck with me somewhere along the way that it just became something kind of natural that developed with learning. I am actually going to take the ad break. I'm just going to get up for a little bit. I'll be back. Thank you for watching ads, and thank you so much for, like, sticking around for this. It's been fun, and I know I'm just, like, yammering a lot, but yeah, okay, I'll be back. Hello, we're back. Welcome back from the ads. Thank you so much for watching them. It's not perfect, but a good way for me to try and reverse engineer techniques. Yeah, like useful analyzing others' art. Yeah, definitely. Learning from example and your peers can be really helpful. Talk about timing. I'm back with food. Welcome back, VOD. I hope your food's yummy. Okay, so last example I'm going to show you, I promise. I think this was last year. So this has less dramatic shading than the other pieces. Obviously, it is a lighter color. But I do think the application of these shadows works a lot better than before. So again, with the color, our darkest shadow here, this is purple, and this is orange and yellow. So complementary colors. I think this piece works a lot better with these, but it is also just like a different, it doesn't have quite so much of a dramatic pull, but we can still see that there are much darker shadows, and they look more prominent because of these light levels, like being carried into the tail, the legs here, the chest here, especially the chest here, showing the divots of fur. And the face shadow isn't quite so sharp as it was before because this claw is like also illuminating this part of the face. But we can still see here that here's some bounce light from the environment. Down here along the tail, there's some warmth. And even like right here, the light isn't hitting this back foot, but because of the environment reflecting back onto it, it's going to be in that shadow. Same here with this little chest part. Now, this is not a perfect piece. I am already like thinking about what I would do differently. I think right here, this is too light. This should be more in shadow. He looks so cuteness in the 2025 version. Thank you! Yeah, this has been a piece that I've been redrawing, and I'm excited to do it again this year. I usually do it every year for Art Fight. Not every year, I skipped a couple of years here, but you know, it's a good way to show progression. So, and also we've got the arc that I was talking about earlier. This has a much better flow of our eyes all the way through the character. And we'll see what I do this year, but I wanted this to show a good example of using these complementary colors as light and shadow. These are yellow and purple. You do Art Fight? Yes, I do Art Fight every year. This year is going to be my 9th year, I think. But what's super exciting about this year for Art Fight is it will be our 1-year streaming anniversary. And we're going to be doing a streamathon, which will also be a donathon with some goals and prizes and stuff set up. But we will be streaming almost every day for Art Fight. And yeah, it should be lots of fun. I've fought in every Art Fight. Nah, I have not, but I started in 2017 with Sun and Moon. I'm gonna follow you. Yay! I will make sure to follow you back. Are you gonna make a 2026 version? Yes. This is usually the first character I attack on Art Fight. It's just tradition. But I'm excited to see what the hell I come up with this year, because I might change the pose again. Keep it similar, but, you know. Anyway. So, progression there. Next, I kind of want to go through some of my pieces before we start, like, actually breaking down the process of how I do it. We should all attack this character. Wait. Not to get off topic, but do you think that'd be fun if, like, every day, like, every stream, we pick somebody attack, and we just get, like, a horde of people attacking the same character? That might be really fun. Art fight parallel, yes! Okay, wait. Somebody write that down. Somebody write it down in my Discord so I don't forget. Art fight army, that would be really fun, and then we could all, like, draw together. That would be fun. I followed you. I'm gonna go follow you back right now, so don't forget. Where are you? Yeah, I got you. I wrote it down in my brain. Yeah. One of us will remember. Surely. Okay. Colors. So, this, I think, shows a lot better example of what I do now, is if we zoom in, this shadow is pink-ish red. Then you can see here in, like, the darkest corners, it's blue. I know the color wheel looks fucking weird. It is blue. But it turns out gray because, you know, we're mixing colors. So, applying colors, I should specify again, this is how I do it, because I like it. In these dark red, pink spots that is our first complementary color. Our second is gonna go in and, like, lightly brush over the areas where we want that shadow to be even deeper. And I had to personally, like, rewrite my brain, because for so long I would just color a character with a multiply layer, and, you know, did I get an example of that? Well, I guess you can see here. This is just like a multiply layer. And there's nothing wrong with using multiply layers. Like I said earlier, I think they are good stepping stones to then learn how to apply our own colors. But, like, if I were to mess with this now, it's like, yeah, this is like purple, but what if I went across my color wheel and I added this, like, teal color to where the shadow is furthest away from the light source. And this is that environmental light we were talking about. The environment interacting with our character and our shadows is going to reflect color onto the object. So, already, it looks cooler. I don't know. That's all my reason for it, is it looks fucking cool. And adds a bit of intrigue rather than just a flat surface. So, that's what I did here. And even our highlights is like, this looks green, right? It's yellow. But, you know, taking blue, orange of our complementary colors and then shifting it a little bit on the color wheel to be our, like, yellow highlight color, it still, like, matches up well. And same with here. This is, like, more obviously, this is red, and this is, like, blue. And here's that yellow sneaking in again. Here's a really, oops, I think this is a really good example recently of, like, blue. This is so blue and purple, against this, like, pink of the skin. And, like, here again, there's this blue tint to the eyes, rather than just this, gray, red color pink here. And again here, like, this one's pretty extreme, is applying that color on top of each other. The chips are calling me. Have fun. Here's an older piece, but I want to say that using multiply is not a bad thing, or any other layer style. I think it is a useful tool, especially if you mix it with what we were just talking about. So like, this character here, this is a multiply. This is like purple on his pants, but then our highlight color is still this orange. They're complementary. And also, for this character, there's this blue in his tail. And for this, we have to consider that, like, he is in a warmly lit environment. There is this green coming down, and probably there are bits of green here. If you see here, green. Or some more green. Green. Green of the shirt. The entire shirt is green. There's green there. There's green. The pants are green. There's a lot of green in this tail. It's because this environment is reflecting down onto this character. And the orange of the sunset is also, like here, reflected on the pants. The orange, the highlights. So it is not just considering how dark and light a object is, but also how the environment interacts with it, with color and bounce light. And yeah. Here's another piece I did for Art Fight. And you don't have to just think in terms of using complementary colors and shadows, but also this character has a lot of orange, like in their hair and along this tail. So even though I didn't use any like orange in the actual light itself, because this character had the pops of orange, I could use the blue shadows almost entirely. Like this comes out more pink, but like this blue highlight here, and then this whole thing is blue. This isn't really green at all. There's a little bit of green here, but it's mostly blue. Here's another blue-green highlight. But the orange of the character is strong enough that it looks complementary. I mean, it is complementary. So we didn't need to use anything at all. Though if I were to like change this now, with this like really harsh light on these pants, I would probably go in with this green again and soften it up for this environmental light that's probably bouncing back up onto them. But I could also even like take some of that orange, like a really desaturated orange, and get it on the very edge of the pants. Like that. And that doesn't even register as orange, but it is. And it works. I'm taking a sippy. Okay. Last one. I'm just like telling on myself of how much I use orange and blue. There's so much of it. But you can see that just like trying to think about color and not relying so much on layer styles. It can really just, I don't know, it makes it fun. I'm not going to say that it makes your art better or not, because that's just subjective. But I do think if you want to play with colors and make your stuff like look a little more, you know, like in these scars, right? The shadows here are blue. They're not just a darker red color. We're not just moving down the color wheel into black. Okay. We're finally going back to our sheet. goodness, this looks like a mess. So, our little guy, you should have a layer that is just like example color. You can make a new layer and clip it onto this one. So, you know, if I colored this, it's just gonna stay on him, right? I want to bite these colors, yummy, yay! Yes, but you've seen, I've come a long way. My art used to look really flat. So, it's also good to consider what color your character or your object is. This guy is blue, so going with like a... It's hard to say, because I think I've definitely done it before, that I've just shaded blue on blue. But we can experiment with it. So, if I do my orange to blue, usually what I do first is, I establish, just like on our sphere, of where the light is. I'm gonna go from the top left corner. It's probably hitting the tail too, like right on here. Maybe that's too excessive, but who cares? I don't. So now, it's not bad to use a multiply layer, and usually for a piece I will, like in addition. I usually don't use multiply though. Hold on. Do I need to make an example? Hold on. So if I make a different layer, I'm gonna just show you, if you don't understand what I mean by multiply. Usually what people do, and me for many, many years, is they take a purple color, and they shade the parts of their character with this purple, right? This is gonna be in shadow. Get some cool shadows. Yeah, okay. You get the point. I'm not gonna, like, dawdle on this. You get the point. I say as I continue. Anyway, you get the point. Yay, shadows. Okay, cool. Awesome. We get it. Move on. Move on. Ahi. Okay. So, multiply layer. You can see that... Hold on. Go back. This purple, it changes to this, like... I would say it's more saturated, but it doesn't introduce a new part. Like, how do I explain this? It doesn't introduce any variety in the colors. It does not give us anything complementary. It does not... It's contrast, because if we think in terms of our orbs again, it is shifting our values way darker. Like, I don't think what this is doing is going straight down into black. There is a bit of like a hue shifting, but I think the problem with relying on multiply is that if we lower the opacity, it looks fine, right? But it can look kind of flat, and there's no, like... There's no introduction of the environment, of, like, how these colors interact with each other. I think multiply is a good way to study and see, like, well, I like when this brown color turns to this sort of like violet color on his pants. I like that. Or that, you know, this blue turns to a much darker, like, kind of indigo color compared to if it's on this paler blue where it's like much more lavender. I think multiply can be used as a stepping stone to then understand of, okay, we're seeing these colors. Let's do it ourselves. So we're gonna get rid of the multiply layer. Don't be scared. And we're gonna think about that we liked those purples. But maybe let's shift it to not be so saturated. Let's start with the arm. And if we just go on like a normal layer, we are choosing the colors intentionally ourselves. And this means that we, even if it's scary, control the amount of value that gets changed, and also the introduction of colors. So like this here, you know, maybe I'm not jiving with the purple. Maybe I want to shift it to be more pink, so I can shift my color wheel over. And already, something that multiply doesn't give us is like these colors, true colors, if that makes sense. With multiplier, it's kind of, you know, I really wish I was an artist who actually knew how like layer styles worked, but I don't. I just know that like what it looks like. It gets darker. I think a good way to put it is that with layer styles, there can be a lot of like monotony. That's not like a bad thing. But like if we want this part of his face to be in shadow, the purple, good. Maybe we shift it a little more blue into that purple that we had before in the multiply. The darker part under his eye. So here, I think just like treating it of more like we're layering. And then maybe we can switch like our complementary. So blue, we're going to orange. Nodding along knowing I'm gonna keep using multiply. No, there's no shame in it. I still use multiply. But I usually add it in like, I use it in addition to what I'm doing here. I'll show that in a second. So our complementary color, it goes under the purple. So, I'm actually gonna redo that. Multiply multiplies the brightness of the base color with the one you're putting on top. Yes. Thank you, Finn, for explaining how it actually works. Not really sure how it treats the color mixing. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know either. So, showing you that, I am kind of bad at explaining what I do, but I'm just going to do my best and show you how I would do this. Because this character is blue, I'm actually going to go with the complementary of purple to yellow. So I kind of like to fill the entire character with the shadow that I'm going to use. And then I lower the opacity, like way down. It's just to give again, talking about the environment, that there is something out here that is tinting our character that environmental color. It is affecting his colors directly. And you guys can do any color you'd like. You don't even have to do complementary. You can do primary, you can do whatever. But I'm just going to show you how I do it. So I get a tint. Then usually, I do sort of do a multiply. It's different than... Oh yeah, also, hold on, before I forget. Establish where your light is. Mine's gonna be up here. So I'm going back to my purple. And I think an important part of this is make sure your color is not too saturated and also not too desaturated. I think a happy medium is not in the middle, but like 3/4 of the way of your color wheel's like value bar. That is like the best experience that I have with it. It really depends. It's personal preference. But I'm going to think about this like our orbs. And think about where the shadow is falling. And the teeth. And again, we want to consider that the darkest parts and the brightest parts. Hello, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. They are anonymous. You can say a lurking little bug if you'd like. Thank you so much for joining us. We are getting to the end of our lesson, but you are absolutely free to download the worksheet that we have. And, you know, I would love to see any attempts you do. I don't want to call them attempts. This is just like working together. But again, the shadow, because he's like pinching his face up, a lot of that shadow is actually going to be concentrated of where his face is scrunching up. We do it over the eyes. This is going to be kind of messy because, you know, I want to actually get through what the hell I'm talking about. It's like experimenting, yeah. I hope your Thursday will be full of love. Hi, Lamp. I hope your Thursday will be just as bright. Aw, thank you for the pet. Thank you, Nina. So, I'm just going in with my purple and considering where this light is going to be and how hard it hits. Because I'm also keeping in mind of that orb again. Why are you talking about feet in my chat? Thank you for the stretch and posture and the hydrate. I will do so. I'll stretch my wings. And I will hydrate. This guy likes feet, bro. His dogs are out. Anyway. I'm gonna continue just doing this. Keeping in mind that wherever I place these shadows, they're going to be softer at the edges of where that light is more likely to hit. Down here, the arch of the muzzle going down from the eye. I feel like I explained the values way better than I did colors, but admittedly, values is something that I've learned in school, and colors, not so much. This is just my own shit thrown together over the years, so I apologize. I feel like this explanation part was not so great. Keeping in mind that this arm would be casting a shadow over this part. You're doing great, thank you. Hi, Scrate, welcome in. Happy Wednesday. I hope you're doing well. So this light is still coming down from here, so I'm gonna change this. This would be in shadow. We're thinking like very top-down light. So like these guys would be like this. This kind of whole arm, honestly. Not so lit up. This one too is especially darker. I should stop dawdling. I should like get on with it. But also you can like erase. Here, the shirt. It's gonna have harsher shadows. True. Thank you, thank you. These little beads. You're gonna have shadows that follow the arc because there's our orb again. Clothes texture is really hard. I'm not gonna talk about clothes texture because I'm also not very good at it. But it has a whole ton of shapes and wrinkles. It can be really fun, but also is hard. Sometimes I don't like to think about it. Does the character have one of them chain wallets? Yes, he does. This is not about my OC, but this guy's like a loser. His story is that he's a personality hire, and he makes it everyone's problem. So he has a chain wallet, and he sucks. Hi, Heather. My grandpa still has one. Yeah, he's awful. This guy sucks. He can't pick which decade he wants to be in. Hello, welcome in. Hi, Robert. Hi, Heather. Are you still gonna follow along with us? We're reaching the end, but there's still an opportunity. He's Urpel. Why are you Urpel? Anyway, I think this proves my point enough. Urpel. So so you could put this on multiply, and it looks fine, but it makes him really, really dark, and it immediately like loses the the color that we have. I don't know how to explain this. The purple we have here, we can sculpt this. We can do something with this. He has beer gut and no wife. Correct. He has no wife, and he has a beer gut. So, Dave is almost done with his vacation. I'm so excited for Dave to come back. He's gonna have to show us the vacation pictures. More of them. What if I focus really, really hard and catch up? Okay, I believe in you. So, I'm not going to use a layer style for this. I am just going to use this plain purple. First, I'm not going to go down in black. I'm going to show you what it looks like if we just go down the color wheel and use black for these darker shadows. And this is kind of what Multiply does, in my opinion. It makes it look... It's essentially just adding black to your colors. And it's not a crime, but it's not the kind of look that we want. We want a look that where these shadows are being influenced by their environment and their surroundings. So with this purple, we have a blue character, right? So I'm actually going to shift my color wheel. I'm not even going to move the position of its value. I'm going to keep it the exact same. I'm just shifting on the color wheel over to the right and into the blue. So I'm going to come in and I want darker shadows. And I'm going to come in on these darker spots with that blue. And this is kind of a trust the process. It's gonna take a while to build up that feeling that we want and those colors that we want. But we are thinking about where the darkest spots would be, where it looks good. Like in the cuff of these pants, they would be there. Yeah, okay. I am going to just continue pushing it. I'm going to go more into blue, and this time I am going to drag on the color wheel to a more saturated blue while going down into black just a little bit. And I get a color like this. Because we are keeping in mind that this character is blue, and we don't want to lose that. And these are like the darkest values, right? We've inched closer to black, like on our orb. This would be the color that is on the edge. Or close to the edge, at least. Might not be our darkest value, but it's the one that's coming up pretty obvious. So like this would be the inside of that cuff, maybe all the weight of the pants there. Definitely behind in this tail where the character is in front of it. And this neck area is pretty dark. And if something looks off, you can adjust it. What's awesome about not using layer styles is that these are the exact colors that you need. So you can mix and blend these as much as you need to. And then we are going, and you could like continue to do this. Doesn't have to stop here. If this was a piece I would be making, I would probably go in more and put more detail and like really blend these things together, but I'm not doing that right now. So this serves as an example. Next, we need that yellow color, our complementary, purple to yellow. So this yellow here. I am going to desaturate it just a little bit. I might make it a little more orange. But this goes on the character that would be hitting the light. There's this like fur here. Also, the brightest parts are the ones that's going to be closest to our light. Probably these eyebrows too are being lit up. Top of his paw. Probably his arm has a little bit here, but not much. It is being kind of obscured by his head, his enormous head. The pants definitely get some. Tops of the feet. And this tail too, get a little bit. And the shirt that's peeking out. This white probably isn't gonna actually be white. It's gonna be yellow. So. And same with the whites of the eyes. You can add some yellow. And if I was paying like super ultra attention, these claws would be lit up too. Maybe this button here. And these here too. And then, just like we did with the shifting shadows, we're still going to follow our complement, but we're going to shift the color wheel a little to the left this time, into like reddish orange. And we're going to continue establishing that warmth in the spots that get lit up. And this can be where we start to sneak in a bit of that environmental light, that bounce light that we were talking about, like into the cheek. And it almost like, look at this, this is awesome. It starts to make this pink color. And, you know, blue and red, they are primary colors that go together. So the pink and this violet blue that we have going on, they work well. And it's because we're like literally mixing colors on a digital canvas, and that's like really fun. Tom Ford colors, get the fuck out of my chat. I'm kidding. Get out of here. At least it wasn't Voltron. Anyway. Just gonna continue establishing this warmth and using it as a bounce light too. Yeah. Okay. And then we can consider our like so this was the difference between these are the three big things. One, highlights. Two are bounce light. And three are like inner environmental shadows, I guess. So if we look at this blue, this is our deepest value so far on this guy. I could make it darker on this piece, but I'm not going to. I think this is fine. This, we are going to do the same thing that we did here with like taking our complementary color and then putting its complement inside the shadow. So blue, does everyone remember what the complementary color to blue is? It's orange. So we're going to take an orange. I think it works best if you desaturate it a little. Orange! Yes, you win. I suggest desaturating it a little, so move it to the middle of your value wheel. And then you're going to lightly put it in the inside of this shadow. He's so royal. He is. Trying to do zine work that has been happening. I'm so sorry. You just reminded me that I need to do my zine work. Oops. That'll happen. Just not right now. I'm busy. Anyway, there's no, like, wrong way to do this. It's just, like, fucking around. Finding out what you like. I especially like it in the eyes, like I said earlier with our values, is to put it in the shadows of those lids. Just makes it look cool, and then also, like, for the nose, put it at the really edge. Yeah. So that is... I'm yawning. um, that is one of the three. Next, we need our bounce light. Taking a look at this character, we can kind of think, okay, maybe he's in like a sunset kind of environment. So that is going to be purple, magenta, pink, orange, yellow. But what if I want him on, like, I don't know, sand? If he is on sand that is being lit up by a setting sun, it's probably going to be somewhere around, like, brown-ish, right? Kind of an orange brown. Now this is something that's you're just gonna have to like test and see what you like. But if I take this bounce light and consider that he is on the ground, it is the environment reflecting back up onto him. And we already kind of did this already with our inner shadows of applying that complement. It's kind of the same thing. And once we have those that we like, we can then do the final piece, which is like the best part of all. And it's the highlight. You're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna pick a color that feels good, maybe closer to white in value. I'm going that same orangish red, but I am just increasing like the whiteness of it. And these go on the tips of the edges where the light would be brightest. I don't think you know how much I love shading like this. I need to practice this more. Ah, I'm so glad! I was hoping that, like, once we got to the end of it, someone would be like, okay, but this looks bad. I don't like this. Why did you show us? I think it's fun because for me, I really like line art, so I don't want to do like a whole like rendering painting thing. So shading like this means I can keep my awesome line art, but then treat the rest of it like I was rendering and painting a piece. Um, so I quite like it. So I'm glad. That is my takeaway. And this tooth used to be our brightest part. We're actually going to make it orange because that has now become our brightest value. Same with the eyes. I'm going to make them more orange rather than pure white. We gotta collab again like we did so long ago, so you're forced to think about your shading instead of the lines. No! No, but wait, that's actually such a good example. Hold on. That's actually a really, really good example, because I think that's when I first started, really experimenting with pushing those colors. Where is it? Yes. So, this is a collab that Bucky and I did, like, forever ago. But, I think, this is a good example of, like, how you can really just get weird with colors. And I also use the lasso tool a lot for this. So, it's still so fire! Fuck! I really like this piece. So, this, like, stripe, it's not just blue, but there's also, like, green and purple. The cape is not just, it's not even gray, it's red, with purple and orange and more purple. And then here, the shirt. This white shirt is not white, it is blue. And then there's pink, there's more blue, there's this pink, almost gray color, there's green in here. And there's this bounce light happening again of... Oh, and this is also a really... Hold on. I'm, like, looking at this piece for the first time in a while. But down here, this is bounce light. The green of the shoes going onto the ground. The blue of these stripes also going onto the ground. And this, like, red environment, it's bounce light. It's going on to, like, these shadows are red, these highlights are red. Onto the shirt, there's a reflection of the pink, and because the pink is being subdued on a shirt that is already blue, it's going to be muted. It's going to be pink. In the hair, it's the same deal as these stripes. I'm actually pretty sure they're close in color. This is purple, this is green, this is blue. Anyway. It's so nice, thank you! I got carried away. The ad's starting soon. Color's really fun. Yeah, like, all these shadows are not just black. They are green and red. And green and red! we know that that is a complementary color, and that's why there are so many of them in this piece. Okay, let's go back. Continue working. There is an ad starting in 3 seconds. I'm sorry. This will be the last ad. I think we're wrapping up soon. And yeah, it's also their colors. Literally, the colors of the characters. So I think it's important to consider, like, the colors of a character and, like, how to make that important, even in shading and lighting. Yeah, color coding shading based off of the character. It's fun! I'm gonna continue adding the highlights because it's like a little reward. It's like a treat. Like, after all your hard work, you get to do some, like, shinies. And I like to add it into the eyes as well, because, haha, it's fun. Sometimes it doesn't have to make sense. I love shiny. Yeah, it's like a reward. It's a treat. Again, we can do bounce light. We can do that. Wow. Okay. We have approached 3 hours of me just fucking yapping away, so I think this is the end of our little lesson. There are people in ads, so I will finish up. But and I think fun part is shiny. You can go almost white, but not quite. For like really bright things. So like the shine of eyes, maybe along the nose, the teeth. It's not white though. It's not. It's actually orange. Thank you so much for this. It was extremely helpful. I found a new way to shade. I had so much fun. I'm so glad. I really am. I had a lot of fun. Um, it forced me to kind of like walk through what I do. Because a lot of the time I don't think about it. I hope you could take something new away from this and maybe apply it to your artwork, or maybe don't. I hope you learned at least one new thing today. I won't do my whole spiel yet because we're still in an ad, but I appreciate all of you that stuck around this long, and I'm so excited to see what you did with all your orbs and shapes and what you did to my little Blorbo. I haven't saved this whole time. That's really scary. We've got 15 seconds left of the ad. 15 seconds! Five, four, three, two, one. Hello! Welcome back from the ads. So, this is the end of my little class, I think. I hope you learned something new today. I want to reiterate that this is not, the end-all be-all, obviously. There are so many different ways to approach art and shading and lighting, but I hope this at least explains a little bit more about what I do with my art. And I hope you learned something. And thank you so much for just being here and listening to me. I really appreciate it. I really, I don't know, like, it's been a weird week, and I felt sad, so it really made me happy to just kind of be here with you all and just talk about art. I really love talking about art and doing art. Wow, who would have thought? Um, but I think this is the end, and also I'm running out of spoons. Thank you for art class. I finished my art tags. Yay! You better send it. I want to see it. It was super neat. I really enjoyed this. I'm so glad. I really am. Thank you so much for enjoying it. Did such a good job teaching. Alright. I gotta get better at it, but thank you. This really was like a really good exercise for me to get more confident about talking. Thank you for stream, of course. Thank you for being here. Let me see if anyone's live that I can send you to. If not, we might just end. Practice and stuff goes for teaching too. So you were on the way. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. I think I'm just going to end, if that is okay. I'm getting to the end of my spoons, but I had a lot of fun. I really had a lot of fun doing this, and we should do it again, sometime. End sounds perfectly fine. Okay, excellent. Yay, okay. Please send me your worksheets and what you did in our Discord. I would love to see it. If you're not already in my Discord, you should join us in the Eclipse. It's a grand old time. I would love to see what you did. I would love to see your artwork in general. And I will see you Saturday for Digimon Cyber Sleuth. We're going back to Cyber Sleuth Saturday. It should be a chill, fun time. If you want to coexist and parallel play with us, we would love to see you there. Thank you so much for the amazing stream. Get some rest, get the spoons. Thank you. I will get my spoons. I don't think I've ever, like, talked this much in, like, 3 hours straight. So, yes, good night and good time zones, everybody. Thank you so much. And also, I'm gonna poke a question in my Discord later. But I want to have a community night. Not on stream, just in Discord. Maybe we play some games together. There's a golf game that I got, and I really like it. So maybe we can play golf one day. Let me know. I'd love to do some more stuff as a community. I know there have been people that have been joining the voice chat in the server, and that's awesome. We should do more of that. I want more of it. Alright, take care everybody. Have a very good night. Do something kind for yourself if you haven't done so today. And thank you again. We'll see you Saturday. Good night.